Hello, and welcome to Shane's Microscope. I'm Shane, and this is my microscope. Let's take a peek. Today's sample comes from a river tributary. This will be the largest body of water that I've investigated microscopically, so I expect we'll see quite a bit of diversity in those microbes. I scooped up a little soil from near the shore, put it on a slide. Let's check it out. Now under the microscope, didn't take me very long to notice a little bit of movement down there, and we can tell that is a ciliate. Cilia, recall, is Latin for eyelash. Oh, we could see its little contractile vacuole go. I saw this other ciliate nearby. It was very active. I was not able to get much of a zoomed in look on this one. And nearby, another ciliate, very gracefully swimming past. This one seemed to get caught on something a little bit, maybe some filamentous bacteria, and got a little bit of a better look at that one. Still didn't know what it was though. The diversity in this sample was just mind-boggling. Here's a little flagellate. Flagella, recall, is Latin for whip. And I thought it looked kind of neat because it almost had little red and green running lights. This spiky thing might be a heliozoan, but there are heliozoan lookalikes, and this one was pretty small. Now this strange-looking creature is of the subclass Monogononta. Those are the monogonontan rotifers. That comes from the Greek monos, single, and gone, seed or offspring. Those are rotifers with a single reproductive organ, or gonad. I actually had a really interesting discussion on this one with a naturalist in Germany. I'll put a link to their site in the description, who said that this is of the genus Cephalodella. That comes from the Greek kephale for the brain or the head. And they think what's going on here is that this rotifer is feeding on this amoeba, which is apparently a rarely observed and documented event. So I thought that was really exciting that I could see something that was that unusual. Here's an interesting little ciliate. Seemed very intent on that bit of substrate. And then I noticed this just absolutely gargantuan diatom. Diatoms, recall, are of the class Basilariophysea. It's from the Latin basilis for little staff, and the Greek phycos for seaweed. And when I went to go see what was moving that material, it turned out it was the diatom. And I just thought this little diatom looked really cool. Has a really interestingly shaped frustule. And here I noticed an amoeba. And I think this may be of the class Heterolobosea, from the Greek heteros for different and lobos for lobe. Here's Melocera varians. It's from the Greek Malea, melon, and cera, chain, and varians from the Latin varius for various or varied, and those are a type of diatom. Nearby I noticed this twirling thing. If you look really closely, you can see some sort of little tendrils that it's waving around, and I think this may be a coenoflagellate from the Greek coene for funnel and the Latin flagella for whip. And here's another amoeba. Again, I think this one might be of the class Heterolobosea, and we can see it's been eating well. I believe this little flagellate is a euglenoid. That comes from the Greek eu for good and glene for eyeball, although a number of the heterotrophic euglenoids, ironically, don't have the distinctive eye spot. And I don't know what this ciliate is, but it has a very interesting surface texture. And I think this might be another euglenoid flagellate. And this one caught my eye. It's clearly a flagellate, but it has a really amorphous look to it. I'm wondering if it's also of the class Heterolobosea, because some of those can go between flagellate and amoeboid forms. I wonder if it's maybe in sort of a transition. Here's something from the phylum Cyanobacteria. That's the blue-green algae. Cyanobacteria, from the Greek kyaneos for dark blue and bacteria for rod. I think these are some empty diatom frustules. Thought they looked kind of pretty. Here's another euglenoid exploring the environment with its whip-like flagella. You can see its very distinctive eye spot. And this one was very difficult to see. I almost missed it, but this is an amoeba. We can see its long tendrils reaching out. I'm using some oblique illumination here to give us some more contrast. And this diatom stood out to me because it almost looked like a diatom inside of a diatom, but that big one eventually rolled over and it turned out it just had a little rider. More ciliates swimming around, looking for food. This one seems content to sift through the water right where it is. And I don't know what this ciliate is either, but it's sure hunting around for things. Has some fairly thick cilia around the perimeter there. And this is definitely a heliozoan. That's from the Greek helios for sun. So, because of all those rays it's got coming out. It looks very sun-like. So as I'm sure you can tell with all these diverse ciliates swimming around, the likes of which we haven't seen before, that the river environment has a much greater variety of foods and microenvironments, and that allows these organisms to find a niche where they don't have to compete as strongly as they would in a microcosm like the bird bath we've been looking at. And just as I was getting ready to shut things down, I noticed this pretty large amoeba. Look at all the stuff in that thing. And the material there on the right is being pushed because the water is starting to evaporate from under the slide. But this amoeba seems to be putting a stop to that. I'm getting a very you shall not pass kind of vibe here. But don't worry about it. As soon as I was done looking at this, I rehydrated the sample, so everything in there is doing just fine. Well, I thought that was a fascinating look at a totally new biome. There was a ton of stuff in there that I could not identify with any degree of specificity. But, that's okay. I'm here to observe, and this is a new environment for me with new organisms. The important thing is to document it, and maybe we can figure out what something is in the future if we see stuff again, or if somebody watching recognizes it. Alright, well, I think we'll leave it there for the day. Thanks for having a look with me. Until next time, keep on peeking.